How you doing, folks? You're watching Onward with Onrie. I'm your host, Onrie Kompan. Before we kick off this week's episode, I just want to take a moment to say thank you to those of you who pledged to the Eastern Shin Hunter and Destroyer 1 on Kickstarter. As of Sunday, October 28th at 10:59 p.m., we managed to raise nearly $5,500. I am so pleased with these results. We could not have done it without your help, so thank you so much. I appreciate it. We're now hard at work on the second half of this brand new issue of Eastern Shin, and I can't wait for you guys to see what we've all been working on. Now, without further ado, I want to kick off this week's episode, and we're going to be talking about social media etiquette. Because over the course of the last month, as I've been promoting the Kickstarter for Hunter and Destroyer 1, there are things I noticed from other people who are promoting their Kickstarters as well, and I just wanted to kind of bring some of these things, some of the things that I noticed to light, and some of the things that, you know, some of those posts I saw that just made me kind of cringe, and made me kind of realize that, you know, I think sometimes we need a reminder of what is pertinent and what is not when we're posting on social media. Now, before I get into this, I just want to give you guys a little context. Most people who are posting on social media are doing so because they're trying to bring attention to themselves, which is why, you know, topics like politics are so hot. If you state your political opinion, you're putting yourself out there, and you're talking about something that people want to argue with you about. No matter what your political stance is, someone is either going to agree with you or argue with you. And if people agree with you, then it's just going to, you know, spawn more negative feedback on the other party and all this stuff. Now, some people feel so strongly about their politics that they don't care what the other person thinks, and they'll just put themselves out there. But remember, if you're an independent creator, you have to live off of this, and you need as many readers as you can get. All right, that's just the bottom line. And honestly, we live in a country where we're allowed to think whatever we want, and I think that's what makes America so great. So I think personally, if you have to think about what your objective is and what's pertinent to your project. If politics are pertinent to your project, then by all means, state your opinions. Say whatever the hell you need to in order to get people to, you know, clamor onto your site. But if that's not the case, then why say it at all? Don't you think it makes more sense to make your work the topic of conversation as opposed to, you know, what's going on in politics that's beyond our control anyway? But that goes beyond the point here. I think, honestly, the one thing I've noticed is that people weren't just talking about politics, they were talking about all the things that are going on in their lives. They're sharing every single moment, every negative thing that's going on in their lives. Like, I lost my credit card, you know, someone stopped me from doing this, you know, someone, you know, said this to me. And here's the thing about it. When you're bringing this kind of negative attention to you, you are making your work look and sound bad. And honestly, there's no reason for it, because other than you having this experience, no one else from your mass audience or your growing audience knows about this. And I think it's very important to portray the illusion of success, even if you're not feeling successful. Like when I was at Alamo City Comic-Con last weekend, I was not feeling successful. All right, I was really tired. I was exhausted. But on top of that, I was dealing with problems that were occurring in the final hours of my campaign. On Saturday, which was the big day of Alamo City Comic-Con, I found out midday that one of our biggest backers on Kickstarter decided to decrease their pledge tremendously. They went from a $375 pledge down to $30. And this was all happening while I was on the floor working the show trying to sell books. And I had a mission. I wanted to sell as many books as I could. And believe me, when I found out this news, I was fucking pissed. I wanted to get behind my table and, you know, just bow my head down and be like, fuck this. And literally, I gave myself a couple minutes to do that because I needed that, you know. But rather than get upset about it, what I did was I realized this backer, decreased his pledge. Maybe the smart thing to do would be to reach out to him and see if I could get him to reconsider. So that was my original strategy. If I could do that, then if I could get him to reconsider, then all would be fine. But if I couldn't, well then, what's my next step? Because you can get angry later. You could be upset later. And we also can't always control our emotions, so we have to allow ourselves that moment to do that, which is why I went behind my table and I got pissed for a second. Once I got through it, I realized, I can't do this all weekend. I won't sell any more books, and it'll just bring me down. So I started thinking about, how am I going to solve this problem? Because we already talked about this. Every single problem has a solution. You may not like the solution, but every problem has a solution. All right? So basically, I managed to convince that backer to come back on, and I got back to work. And sometimes, that's all it takes is, just going back to that when something changes, sometimes the Occam's razor approach, the simplest solution is the answer. And, it worked here. So, that helped out, and it allowed me to get back on the floor and keep working. So, but of course nobody who bought books from me over that weekend knew what the hell was going on. I wasn't sitting there and telling them everything that was happening, because I don't think that they were interested in that. No one cares about that. No one cares that, my feet hurt. No one cares that I have bone spurs in my foot, and that in an hour I'm going to be going to physical therapy to get it fixed. No one gives a shit. And that's okay. I don't expect people to give a shit. And the reason why is because I don't think that information is pertinent to the growth of Eastern Shin. What happens with me behind, the curtains of production are between me and anybody who I involve in my life. And we'll get to that in a moment. But let's now step into a different lane. I think another problem that a lot of people have when they're posting on social media is that they have these high expectations of what their posts are going to do for them. Like, for example, if you announce something, you're going to get thousands of views because you've been hard at work on this, you have a great product, you're going to make an announcement, and all of a sudden it's just going to blow up, and everybody's going to retweet and repost and blah, blah, blah. The chances of that happening are pretty slim. And the chances of people really responding to that are it's a crapshoot. You don't know. I mean, you can always pay Facebook to, boost your posts and stuff like that, but I mean, really, what's the point? We don't know we don't always know what catches fire. But I think if you walk into social media, and this is actually what my approach for Kickstarter was this time, I lowered my expectations. What I wanted my results for this Kickstarter campaign to do was to just be completely organic. I didn't pay for a single ad. I didn't pay I didn't outsource any marketing companies to help promote my campaign. And you know what? There might be guys out there right now who are listening to me say this and think that I was a fool and that I could have turned my $5,500 into $55,000, okay? But that's not the point for me. I want everything to be organic. I want all of the people who find me to find me because I reached out to them. And that's what I did. I sent out like over 1,000 messages on Facebook. I was posting every single day. I was trying to give people a chance to get to know me personally. Because me reaching out to you, if you got a message from me and you responded, I responded back to you immediately. And if you became a backer because of the message I sent, you have no idea how grateful I am, because I had to sit in front of the computer sending out these messages, and it's not easy. So, and especially during the middle of a Kickstarter campaign, as we all know, things slow down dramatically, and there's pretty much nothing you can do about it, because people kind of feel like, well, he's at this point where he's either reached his goal or is getting to that point, I'll pitch in at the end. And a lot of people do, they pitch in at the end. The beginning and the end is the big point. How do you get over the middle point? I think you do that by lowering your expectations. Don't expect stuff. Have fun with it, for Christ's sake. I mean, if you guys see my commercial, it's the one that I made with the drawstring bag, it was me having fun. All right, it was a lame fucking commercial, and I had fun with it, and I did it because I wanted to do it. I didn't get any more backers from it. I didn't, it didn't spark anything. But you know what? It got a laugh out of people, and it's something I can put in my portfolio. So, you have to have fun with this. Otherwise, why the hell are you doing it? And if you give people the impression that you're not having fun and that you're, miserable doing all this stuff, they're not going to want to support you anymore, because people want to put their money in a place where they know that the investment is going to provide some sort of return for them. And if they see that you're invested and that you're involved and that there's no way you're backing out of this, no matter what, come hell or high water, you're in this, for the long run, they're going to want to be a part of that movement. And you don't want to give them the illusion that that's not the case. You want to show them your commitment. And the best way to do that is to fucking have fun. Remove the stick from your ass. Make your social media comments fun. Make fun of yourself. Make fun of things that are happening to you. Even if you're having a bad day, find some way to make it work for you as opposed to against you. All right? And that brings me to my final point. I think that when we feel things, when we're feeling down, when we're feeling depressed, when we're feeling angry, when we're feeling happy, when we're feeling anything for that matter, it's important to find the right strategies and channels to express those feelings. And I think that's, I don't think social media is always the place for that. I mean, we live in this culture now where everything needs to come on social media, but there's something we have to understand. Things get misconstrued on social media. People can perceive certain words like, let's just take this phrase, I love you, all right? I can say I love you to my wife, and I can say I love you to my best friend. The type of love I have for my wife is completely different for the type of love I have for my best friend. It's just two different, it's two different forms of expression. But on Facebook, there's no context. So you can say these two things and people can get misconstrued and think that you come off the wrong way. And I don't think that's right. I don't think that's fair to you. And I don't think that's fair to the person that is reading that. There was a time before social media when we used to express ourselves to people we cared about, and we didn't allow things like politics and all these other things to get in the way of that. I see people all the time who are like, I can't talk to my parents anymore. I hate my parents. Your parents are there to be, your support system, and I don't know, everybody's got a different family, structure. Some people have parents who abandon them and all that stuff, but even if you don't have a mother and father, there's got to be somebody in your life that you can go to, that you can get those, you can get those feelings out. I mean, having that connection with that person is actually what will put your soul at ease. It will make you feel so much better than throwing yourself out there on social media for everyone to point and criticize you. I just don't think that is fair to you as a creator, as someone trying to build a business. It's not necessary to do that. If you have to because you just, you can't sleep anymore and think about it, well then go do something about it. Like if you hate what's going on right now in our country, you have a chance to go vote. And you can go and encourage other people to vote. I see nothing wrong with people saying, hey, I voted today. That's great. That's awesome. But if you're going to express your feelings about how much you hate what's going on in the country, you're not changing anything. That's the bottom line. All right? I hate to break it to you. Here's how you can change something. You can go out there and you can do something good for someone. A couple of weeks ago when I was at New York Comic Con, my sales captain, Kevin Hines, and I, we left the show for the day. We were walking back to to the place we were staying at. And as we were walking, we saw an old man who was in front of us. And he was on a walker. And he tripped and he fell. And everybody was just kind of staring at him. Kevin and I helped him back up on his feet. And we asked him, where are you going? He said, I'm going across the street. So we both held him and we walked with him. We took our time. We took short baby steps. And we walked with him for a good 20 minutes and got him to where he needed to go. And luckily it wasn't out of our way, but even if it was, it wouldn't have mattered. Because it's things like this that make a difference. Being kind to the person next to you, that makes more of a difference than stating your political opinion on Facebook. Acknowledge your brother. Acknowledge somebody that needs help from you. It will fill your soul so much more than putting your anger out there on social media about shit that you have absolutely no control over. Alright? You want to make a difference, go vote. Until then, look around you. See, if you want to make change, change starts from your actions, the things that you have control over. And there's very little that you actually do have control over. But every time you get up there and you do something for somebody else, every time you put your book in someone's hands, you're making a difference. You have no idea what doing that can mean for someone. All right? And you are the future. No matter if you're starting out in this business and you're making your comic for the first time and you're putting it out there, you can't even predict how your book is going to change and impact someone's life for the better. All right? So get out there and fucking kick some ass. All right? And stop sounding like a fucking, jackass who's always down on his luck. Get out there and sound like you fucking can do this. You can overcome the odds. It's not impossible. Nothing's impossible. All right? All right, guys. I'll see you next week with a brand new episode. Until then, onward to victory.